For a decade, they were the sun around which the rest of Hollywood orbited. Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman weren't just a couple. They were an institution. But when that institution collapsed in 2001, it didn't end with a bang. It ended with a silence that has lasted for nearly a quarter of a century. For 23 years, there has been an unwritten rule in the entertainment industry, observed strictly by journalists and fiercely guarded by publicists. Nicole Kidman does not talk about Tom Cruise. She acts as if that decade of her life was a fever dream she simply woke up from. But something has shifted as we move through late 2024 and into 2025. The silence began to fracture, and Nicole Kidman has started talking. Industry insiders are whispering that the timing is not a coincidence. The prevailing rumor is that a 20-year non-disclosure agreement, an ironclad contract designed to protect the Tom Cruise brand, has finally expired. Or perhaps Nicole has simply reached a level of power where she no longer fears the machine that once controlled her. Whatever the reason, the Golden Girl is finally peeling back the curtain on the Golden Prison. The evidence is in the sudden change of her narrative. In recent interviews regarding the 25th anniversary of Eyes Wide Shut, Nicole has dropped the diplomatic facade. Speaking to the LA Times and in recent documentaries, she admitted that their marriage wasn't just acted on screen, it was mined. She revealed that director Stanley Kubrick used their real-life marital tensions as raw material, blurring the lines between fiction and their crumbling reality. But we have to ask the big question: why now? Context is everything. We are watching this unfold at a time when Tom Cruise's public image is more fragile than ever, especially with his estrangement from his daughter, Suri. As the cruise control weakens, Nicole Kidman is stepping into the light, ready to reclaim the decade she lost. To understand why Nicole Kidman's silence was so absolute for so long, we must look beyond the standard narrative of a Hollywood breakup. This was not a simple case of irreconcilable differences. It was a collision with a massive, sophisticated infrastructure designed to protect its most valuable asset, Tom Cruise. As we dig deeper into the gravity of her situation, we encounter three distinct systems of control that governed her life: a controversial religion, a psychological experiment disguised as a movie, and the overwhelming shadow of her husband's ego. The most chilling aspect of this separation, and the primary reason for the wall of silence, lies within the ecosystem of Scientology. For years, the public wondered why Nicole seemed to fade from the lives of her adopted children, Isabella and Connor. The tabloids painted a cruel picture of a career-focused woman who abandoned her family for fame. But the reality, according to defectors and documented investigations, is far more sinister. Nicole didn't walk away. She was systematically erased. In the lexicon of Scientology, there is a designation known as a suppressive person, or SP. This label is reserved for enemies of the church, individuals who impede the spiritual progress of others. When Nicole separated from Tom, she didn't just become an ex-wife, she effectively became an SP. The root of this conflict wasn't just the divorce, but her bloodline. Nicole's father, Dr. Anthony Kidman, was a prominent psychologist. In the doctrine of Scientology, psychiatry and psychology are considered abusive frauds, the sworn enemies of their belief system. This made Nicole, by association and by her own growing skepticism, a potential trouble source. According to the explosive revelations in Alex Gibney's documentary Going Clear and the memoir Troublemaker by Leah Remini, the church allegedly embarked on a campaign to alienate the children from their mother. Remini, a former high-ranking Scientologist and close friend of the family, recalled a disturbing interaction with the children after the divorce. When she asked Bella if she had seen her mother, Bella reportedly replied, "Not if I can help it. She's a fucking SP." This wasn't teenage rebellion. It was, as experts suggest, a successful program of parental alienation. The church had to protect its prince Tom Cruise, and to do that, They had to convince the children that their mother was a spiritual threat. This explains the heartbreaking visuals of the last decade. Nicole absent from Connor's wedding to a fellow Scientologist, reports of her being banned from the ceremony, and her tearful, distant acknowledgments of them in award speeches. She was fighting a system that told her children she was dangerous. If Scientology was the spiritual cage, then the production of Eyes Wide Shut was the psychological vice that crushed what remained of their marriage. To the outside world, starring together in a Stanley Kubrick film was the ultimate power move. In reality, it was a harrowing 15-month ordeal that blurred the lines between performance and reality until they no longer existed. Kubrick, known for his obsessive perfectionism, didn't just want them to act. He wanted to mine their real-life relationship for pain. In recent retrospectives, Nicole has shed light on the claustrophobic nature of that set. The production moved to the UK, isolating them from their support systems in Hollywood. Kubrick reportedly employed a divide-and-conquer strategy. He would have extensive private consultations with Tom, leaving Nicole in the dark, stoking feelings of paranoia that mirrored the jealousy of the characters they were playing. They slept in the bedroom of their characters, Alice and Bill Harford, living inside the fiction. The most damaging revelation, however, is how the film forced them to confront their incompatibilities. The movie is about a husband desperate to maintain a facade of control and a wife who yearns to shatter it with brutal emotional honesty. This was their real life. Nicole has hinted that the famous argument scenes, where her character eviscerates Tom's character with a monologue about infidelity and desire, were fueled by Kubrick pushing her to access her deep-seated frustrations with Tom. Tom, who has spent his entire career curating a perfect, invincible image, was forced to play a man insecure and tormented by his wife's inner life. Kubrick didn't cause the divorce, but he stripped away the illusions that were keeping the marriage together. By the time filming wrapped after 400 grueling days, the perfect couple had been dissected on camera, leaving them with nothing but the raw, uncomfortable truth of their disconnection. If the 90s were defined by Nicole Kidman contracting, shrinking herself to fit into the frame of a controlling marriage, then 2001 was the year of her explosive expansion. The end of the golden couple did not come with a whisper. It arrived with a shockwave that shattered Nicole's world before it ultimately set her free. The timeline of the separation paints a picture of brutal abruptness. In February 2001, just 2 months after they renewed their vows, Tom Cruise filed for divorce, citing generic, irreconcilable differences. For Nicole, the timing could not have been more devastating. According to reports from Vanity Fair and her own later reflections, she was blindsided. She wasn't just losing her husband, she was in the midst of a personal physical trauma. At the time of the filing, Nicole suffered a miscarriage, an ectopic pregnancy that resulted in the loss of a child. She was left navigating the collapse of her family while physically recovering from the loss of a pregnancy, all under the scrutiny of the global press. She was reportedly begging Tom to reconsider, to work through it, but the decision had been made. The drawbridge was pulled up and she was left outside. However, from the ashes of this personal devastation, an iconic image emerged, one that has since been immortalized in internet culture as the ultimate symbol of freedom. We have all seen the photos. Nicole Kidman leaving her attorney's office after the divorce was finalized. She isn't hiding behind dark glasses. She isn't weeping. She is walking toward her car with her arms thrown wide open to the sky, screaming in pure, unadulterated ecstasy. It is the image of a woman who has just exhaled for the first time in a decade. And then came the quote, the sharp, witty, and devastatingly honest one-liner that signaled the end of her submission. Appearing on The Late Show with David Letterman shortly after the split, when asked how she was coping, Nicole smiled and delivered a line that cut through the tension like a knife. "Well, I can wear heels now." It was a joke, but it was also a manifesto. The physical restriction of not being allowed to tower over her husband was gone. The metaphorical ceiling was shattered. What followed was one of the most remarkable role reversals in Hollywood history. As Nicole stepped into her power, Tom Cruise seemed to lose his grip. While he entered his erratic, manic phase, characterized by the firing of his longtime publicist Pat Kingsley and the infamous couch-jumping incident on the Oprah Winfrey Show, Nicole channeled her heartbreak into her art. The divorce, painful as it was, became the rocket fuel for her career. No longer the plus one, she threw herself into work that required raw, bleeding emotion. In 2001, she gave us Moulin Rouge, playing a woman trapped by men who want to own her, a role that felt eerily prescient. But it was the following year, in The Hours, that the transformation was complete. Donning a prosthetic nose to play the tormented writer Virginia Woolf, Nicole Kidman disappeared. She wasn't the glamorous movie star anymore. She was a vessel of profound sadness and intellect. That performance won her the Academy Award for Best Actress. Standing on that stage holding the Oscar, the narrative had officially flipped. She was no longer Tom Cruise's wife. She was Nicole Kidman, an artistic titan in her own right. Looking back, the liberation reveals a harsh but empowering truth. Leaving the orbit of the world's biggest movie star was the best thing that ever happened to her art. The pain of the separation cracked her open, and through those cracks, her true talent finally emerged. She lost the perfect marriage, but she found her voice. And as we see now, 20 years later, that voice is finally ready to tell the whole story. As we reach the core of this saga, we have to revisit the concept of the non-disclosure agreement. While the rumors of a 20-year contract expiring are compelling, the truth likely runs much deeper than ink on a page. The NDA might have been a legal reality, but the silence was a psychological choice. Perhaps the expiration date wasn't on a legal document, but on her fear. For 2 decades, Nicole Kidman's refusal to speak about Tom Cruise or the Church of Scientology was often mistaken for weakness or complicity. But looking back, it appears to have been an act of supreme dignity. In an industry that thrives on tell-all books and messy public feuds, Nicole chose the high road. She protected her children, she protected her peace, and she protected her craft. Her silence wasn't empty. It was a fortress. Now, as she begins to speak, it is crucial to understand her intent. She is not venting, she is validating. When she discusses the trauma of Eyes Wide Shut or the mining of her personal life, she isn't trying to destroy Tom Cruise. She is simply reclaiming her own history. She is affirming that what happened to her was real, that the pain was significant, and that she survived it. She isn't burning the house down. She is finally just turning on the lights so we can see what was there all along. The divergence of their paths since that fateful day in 2001 offers the most poetic ending to this story. If you look at them today, you see 2 completely different definitions of winning. Tom Cruise remains the biggest movie star on the planet. He is the eternal maverick, hanging off airplanes, riding motorcycles off cliffs, and obsessively chasing the adrenaline of the next stunt. He is a marvel of discipline and star power. Yet, he often appears as a solitary figure, a man frozen in time, surrounded by employees and acolytes, but seemingly isolated from the intimate connections of family life. He is the king of his own world, but he stands on that summit alone. Contrast that with Nicole Kidman. She found love again with Keith Urban, a relationship defined not by power dynamics or image management, but by visible, genuine support. We see her on red carpets not posing like a statue, but laughing, touching, and being human. She has allowed herself to age, to change, and to take risks in roles that are messy and unflattering. She traded the perfection of being Mrs. Cruise for the beautiful imperfection of a real life. In the end, the story of Nicole Kidman and Tom Cruise is a parable about the cost of freedom. Nicole paid a high price. She lost her standing in a powerful religion, she was estranged from her eldest children, and she had to rebuild her identity from scratch. But the return on that investment was her soul. So as we close this chapter on Hollywood's most fascinating divorce, I leave you with this question. One is the savior of the box office. The other is the queen of prestige drama. One chose control. The other chose liberation. Who do you think is the real winner of this divorce?